Hello everyone, how's it going? Cloud here, and welcome to my guide on the Daemonheim tasks. In this video we'll be focusing on the easy tasks. Now, before I get going with this guide, we're going to go over a few things which are the items and requirements needed to complete all the easy tasks. So first of all, for the items, the only thing you're going to need to bring is the Ring of Kinship, which grants you access into the Daemonheim dungeons in the first place. All the other items that you're going to need, you'll actually obtain in the dungeons themselves, which we'll cover off during the course of the video. As for the actual requirements, you will need these skills: level 23 Dungeoneering, level 30 Attack, Ranged and Magic, level 7 Smithing or level 8 Crafting, and level 10 Divination. So that's everything for all requirements and items. Now onto the tasks themselves. So what I've tried to do is categorise the tasks and do in a certain order which makes it the quickest to complete, and that's taking into account you doing none of the tasks. Now it may be you've actually already completed some of these tasks during your general sort of dungeoneering adventures, so sometimes if you're trying to complete a certain task and it doesn't come up with a pop-up window, it may be that you've already done that. So the only thing I recommend is actually looking to see what task you completed already, which is by clicking the hero tab, which is like the helmet with horns icon. Scroll over to the achievement tabs, and obviously the drop down menu, choose Daemonheim, and it should give you a list of all the tasks, and if they've got a little gold tick next to them, it means you have completed it already. So these tasks can be done in any order. You don't actually have to follow the order I'm going through in the video. However, all I would say is if you've completed none of the tasks, or pretty much minimum amount of the tasks like me, I would recommend doing it in this order just to make it easier to complete them quicker. Now the main bulk of these tasks you have to do solo. However, there are a couple of other tasks which will require the assistance of another person, but I will split that towards the end of this video. It's only 2 tasks, but you will need a teammate to complete them. Anyways, that's enough about that. Now on to the task starting point. So obviously we're currently just outside Daemonheim, which you can get to by using the teleport option on the Ring of Kinship. Now before we go into the dungeon itself, there's a task that we can complete outside of the dungeon. So the first task is called A Road Less Travelled, and that's to pass the guards guarding the wilderness entrance. So pretty self-explanatory. Obviously Daemonheim is connected to the wilderness, so what you're going to do is head over in this direction here that I've got marked on the map, and literally you'll see a guard standing nearby. As soon as you pass the guard into the wilderness, it will come up with the task being complete, and obviously you can step back in again. The likelihood of someone waiting there to attack you is very minimal, but just be a little bit careful just in case. Obviously once you've gone into the wilderness and back, the task should be completed. Okay, so we're now going to head into the actual Daemonheim dungeons to start completing the task in there, so you can either walk back or use the teleport option with your Ring of Kinship. So I'm going to go through each task individually. It may require you completing different floors in order to get all the different items, but the first thing I do recommend to do most of these tasks in one bulk if you haven't already is to start on floor 1 and put it as complexity 6, and hopefully through the course of this first dungeon you'll be able to complete quite a lot of the tasks that I'm about to go through. I'd advise watching all these sort of mentioned tasks just before you enter the floor 1 dungeon, just so you know in the back of your mind what items and that you're going to need, so obviously when you're completing the floor yourself you can look out for the relevant materials, etc. So the first task is called Invisible Ink, and that's to use your Ring of Kinship on a fire. So as soon as you come across any branches, whether it's some you've cut or if you buy them from the smuggler, what you need to do is light a fire on the floor, and then your Ring of Kinship will probably be equipped, so unequip it, and then using the right click option, use your Ring of Kinship on the fire. It will come up with a little dialogue in the chat box, and once you've done that, the task will be completed. Okay, so the next 2 tasks, Fashion Victim and Setting Up, can be incorporated together just to make it easier. So setting up is to make a full set of tier 1 armour. So for example, if you're going to do it using smithing, that will be using the material known as Novite, which requires level 10 smithing. And the other task that I just mentioned, Fashion Victim, is to wear a full set of tier 1 armour. So probably the main majority of you will have a fairly decent smithing level rather than the crafting level, so you got a choice there. You can either use metal to make tier 1 armour, or obviously you can use the relevant hides to use crafting to make ranger armour or magic armour, but I imagine just for the ease of it to go with Novite. So obviously Novite ores you'll find throughout the different floors you're on, but obviously they can be purchased from the smuggler as well. So you've got 2 approaches. You can either try and find all the Novite you need, or just make enough coin coins during the course of the dungeon to buy them from the smuggler. But you want to buy enough Novi ores to turn into bars, which will make you the helmet, the plate body, the plate legs, the boots and the glove. So once you finish smithing the helmet, body, legs, boots and gloves, it will come up saying setting up task has been completed. And then for the fashion victim one, all you need to do is literally equip all the armour that you've just made, and again that task should come up as complete. So the next task is called a change of dress, and that's to switch to another bind loadout. So obviously in Dungeoneering you can bind items to you, and in using the smuggler you can choose which of your bound items you want to wear, and obviously it depends on your Dungeoneering level. So there's an easy way of doing this. You'll probably have items bound already in the first sort of loadout slot. So all you need to do is drag the item in slot 1 into the row slot 2, and then if you then click the arrow next to that bind loadout, you'll technically change the bind loadout and the task will come up as complete. Or alternatively, if you've got another item that hasn't been bound to any slot yet, just drag that into a different one. Either way, as long as you're switching to another bind loadout, the task will be completed. The next task is called Coraggio Fandago, and that is to make a summoning combat familiar help you defeat a boss. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously you're going to need some charms in order to make the summon, but depending on your summon level is obviously which type of summon you can make, whether it's a gold charm summon or a green charm summon. But you want to aim to make a Blood Rager. That is the summons that primarily focus on a combat style approach. I believe off the top of my head you can make one with Novi ore and a gold charm, but if you go to the summoning obelisk and then from the drop down menu select Blood Rager, you'll list all the different ones you're actually able to make with your level, and then it will tell you the materials you need. So obviously once you've obtained the materials you need, all you need to do is go to the summoning obelisk and create the pouch, and then what we'll do is when you then are about to fight the boss, simply all you're going to do is summon your monster to fight the boss alongside you, and as long as it's dealt a little bit of damage to it, the task will be completed. On that note, there are 3 tasks now that can be pretty much incorporated together, and hopefully so far you wouldn't have completed any of these parts or affected the outcome of any of these parts. So the 3 tasks are to complete a dungeon solo, to complete a floor solo without dying, and to defeat the boss on floor 1 solo. So this is why I recommended starting with floor 1 on complexity 6, so you can obviously get all the relevant items and be able to incorporate these 3 tasks as one. So what we're going to do, hopefully you would have just done the task beforehand, which would be me making a combat familiar to help you defeat the boss. So all you're going to do is go find the boss on floor 1, and then once you've got to it, obviously enter the area, have your combat summoned with you so that it will help fight the boss, and as long as you defeat it without dying and then go to select completing the dungeon, you'll obviously complete the task where you needed a familiar to fight the boss with you. You would complete the task for completing it solo, you would have completed another one for completing it without dying, and obviously the other task is defeating boss 1 on floor 1 solo. So yeah, about 4 tasks all completed in one there. That's why I sort of recommended going with that setup. Obviously, for any reason, if you did happen to die during floor 1 or any other floor really, all you need to do is go to the next floor. It doesn't have to be a specific one, and as long as you complete it without dying, that task will be completed. So the next task is called a Flicker in Darkness, and that's to use a crater to convert a memory of tier 2 or higher to energy. So this requires a minimum of level 10 divination and will require a flickering wisp or better depending on your divination level. So memories can be gathered from the same type of wisp which are randomly found in dungeons, and obviously the type of wisps differs on each floor, so this bit might require you to complete a few different floors until you come across the ones that you can actually use. So obviously level 10 divination you'll be able to collect tier 1 energies, same for level 20 for tier 2, etc, etc. So once you actually come across some wisps that you can use divination against, obviously click the wisp to receive some flickering memories or higher depending on your divination level, of course. And then once you have some of those, what you then want to do is go to the main starting point by teleporting to the smuggler, and there's a crater where you can convert the memory into energy, and if you right click it there should be the option to do that, and once you've done that it will come up with task being completed. So the next task is called Deerling, and that's to complete an abandoned floor on any complexity solo. So what I recommend, if you're in the middle of a floor, obviously just exit so you go back to the Dungeoneering lobby so you can then select which floor you want to go on. And abandoned floors are from number 12 to number 17. So obviously because the task is to complete it on any complexity solo, I would put it to the smallest complexity just to increase the speed of completing this task. And obviously once you enter that floor, obviously complete it like you normally would, and once you've encountered the boss and defeated that one and click to end the dungeon, the task will then come up as completed. So the next task is called Take It From the Top, and that's to reset your current floor progress. So this is a pretty easy one to do, and some of you may have already done it. So what you need to do is obviously exit the dungeon you're currently on if you are, and wait to be in the Dungeoneering lobby. Then using your Ring of Kinship, open the party interface where you normally select the floor and complexity, and then right down the bottom there's a little option that says reset. All you need to do is click that and it will reset your floor progress and allow you to start from number 1 again. There's no repercussions of doing this as such. Obviously it just depends on sort of your current position, because it does affect the XP you get going forward. The higher you reset it in terms of floor wise, the better XP you get for every floor when you repeat them. So that decision's up to you, but for the sake of the task, once you've done that, that will be complete. So the next task we're going to complete is called Tales of Old, and that is to complete a Fremennik saga, abridged or unabridged, after talking to Skaldron, and this requires 30 attack, range and magic. You must have the necessary levels to do the relevant saga, and any saga will do. However, the fastest saga is Vengeance, but ignore that because the saga that I'm going to recommend you guys complete is called Freeze Company, and the reason for that is one of the medium Daemonheim tasks is to complete the Freeze Company Fremennik saga to 100%. So we're going to complete that one, and I will tell you as well how you actually complete it 100% as well. So first off, if you haven't started any of the Fremennik sagas like myself, what you need to do is find a relevant person in order to actually start doing them in the first place. So to take part in the Fremennik sagas, you must find a person called Skaldron, who is frozen in a block of ice, and he appears randomly on one of the frozen floors between floor 1 and floor 11 during the game of Dungeoneering, which has complexity 2 or higher, and he must be unfrozen with a tinderbox and logs or a fire-based spell. And after he has been found and free, he can then be found on the surface of Daemonheim. So what you need to do is just go to a random frozen floor. 99% of the time he will be on any frozen floor you go on, especially if it's complexity 6, and then once you find him, obviously unfreeze him using the above mentioned things that I spoke about a minute ago, either with a tinderbox and logs or a fire-based spell. He'll then tell you that you're able to complete the different sagas if you find an item relevant to that saga, which will jolt his memory, and these items cannot be found until Skaldron has been found and free. So to find a memory fragment, it will be found near enough on the same sort of floor as you found Skaldron. You might have to completely exit the dungeon and do another one, but either way you should come across it. And the very first saga you unlock is actually Freeze Company, and that's to find a bear pelt, and it will appear randomly on one of the frozen floors. Many players will find it in the same room where Skaldron was frozen at the same time. So once you touch the bear pelt and it disappears, you'll receive a message in the chat box stating that you can now start the memory by talking to Skaldron. So you can now exit the Daemonheim floor, and we can go find him on the surface. So like I said, he's located near where Fock and all the rest of them are, like the Dungeoneering Rewards Master. Just watch where I'm going and I'll show you where he is. And then going through some dialogue, it should come up with the option saying about listening to an old tale, and he will tell you or ask you which tale you want to listen to, and you want to select the Three's Company one, which talks you through the three characters Ariane, Ozan and Sir Owen on a hunt for the antagonist Khan. So once you've actually gone through and selected Three's Company, it will come up with a similar interface to Dungeoneering, apart from you have the option to control either one of the three characters. And obviously different characters will be able to do different things, and obviously Ariane uses magic, Sir Owen uses melee, and Ozan uses range. So there'll be different enemies weak to different things. So I'm not really going to talk you through how to do this. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just got to sort of complete it as you go along. The usual sort of things that you would do in Dungeoneering will occur in here, such as the puzzles, etc. And obviously the only thing I would recommend is look out for the side objectives, as if you complete this 100%, you'll get a XP time as a reward, and it will also be one of the medium Daemonheim tasks completed. So the side tasks are to investigate a large pile of rocks as Sir Owen to obtain ore, so you pick up a gold charm and 2 Heim crabs, and then use them to summon a Garajo at the summoning obelisk. After getting past the guard using Ozan's charm, pick up the broken longsword, which will crumble, leaving nothing but some ore. And then after getting past the guard using Ozan's charm, pick up the Fractite pickaxe as Sir Owen and mine the Zephyrium rock for ore. So those are your 4 objectives to complete in order to finish this 100%. But for any reason you do miss out on one of them, don't worry too much. You can complete the saga again, and I will cover that properly in the medium Daemonheim task guide. But for the sake of this video, just obviously complete any of the Fremennik sagas, and once you do complete it, whether it's 100% or not, the task will be completed. So the next task is called Sinking Fast, and that has to complete a sinkhole. Now if you're like me and probably have never done sinkholes at all, this will seem a little bit foreign to you, but don't worry, it's not that difficult to do. So Sinkholes is a members only Dungeoneering distraction and diversion, and it takes place every 30 minutes, and the official homeworld for Sinkholes is World 134. So the activity can be started by talking to Tauslar, who is located in the Daemonheim camp, and he will give players the information about himself and the location and the time of the next sinkhole, and it normally comes up in the chat box saying a sinkhole has appeared. He will also teleport you to the relevant sinkhole when it's almost time. So the main aim of the sinkhole is to complete the objectives. So obviously once you're in the sinkhole and started it, you'll be teleported into a random room with some other random players, and there'll be objectives completed on the panel. So for example, I don't know if this changes, but you have to collect any ore, which is 50 in total, combat totems, which obviously are obtained by killing the relevant monsters on the floor, and exploratory totems, which we found during different things, so either completing puzzles or searching chests, etc. So obviously all those objectives are for all 4 players, so everyone's got to work together as a team to complete the floor, and literally you can use any approach. So you can either try and obtain any ore or any combat totems or any exploratory totems. All you really need to do really is contribute in some way to be able to complete the floor. Now the only thing I recommend is one of the medium Daemonheim tasks is to hand in 20 items all in one go, on the same sinkhole level. So personally what I would do, just because it's easier and there's more opportunity for you to find them, is to collect 20 ores in total. So literally don't worry about any monsters or anything, just keep searching around the area to find different mining spots and collecting them, and then once you've got the ore in your inventory, there are deposit boxes that you need to put them in in order for it to contribute to the actual panel. Now please bear in mind, some people or some other players may already have some of the items that you're collecting in their inventory, and obviously if they deposit it before you and it meets the full objective, so if for example say there was 20 ores left to collect and someone deposited 20 that they had and you still had 20, you wouldn't be able to deposit them anymore, as the maximum of 50 would have been found. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do really, the sinkholes. It's just a case of being quite quick, and then at the end it will come up with some sort of like mini game where you can choose different cards that you will have found during the sinkhole, that can be used to do different things and will depend on what reward you get. So there are ones like that will shuffle all the chests, or ones where you copy the other person's chest, things like that really, but that bit really doesn't matter. The main aim is just obviously to complete the sinkhole, and optionally if you manage to hand in 20 or more of the items that contribute to the objective, you'll also complete a medium Daemonheim task. But either way, once the sinkhole has been completed and you've contributed in at least some way, it will come up with task being complete. So that is all the solo tasks. Now on to the last 2 tasks, which requires you to have assistance from someone else. So you can either have that as a random person or a friend. So my good friend Thomas, aka Rune Movies, aka Mario Sonic, offered to come and help me complete the 2 tasks. So the 2 tasks are to complete a dungeon in a team of more than 1, so that can be any floor, any complexity, and the other task is to feed a teammate some food. So pretty self-explanatory. When your teammate has received a little bit of damage, all you need to do is right click a piece of food from your inventory and use it on the teammate, and then once you've healed them with the food, that task will be complete. And obviously once you've completed any dungeon floor on any complexity with your friends, that task will come up as completed as well. So either way, once you've completed all the easy Daemonheim tasks, it will come up with a little message saying that you've completed all the tasks and speak to the relevant person. Now, for any reason it hasn't popped up, it could be A, you've either clicked through it, like if you're in the middle of combat or something, or B, you haven't actually completed one of the tasks correctly. So all I would say is, if it hasn't come up with that pop-up message, just go to the Hero tab and then the Achievement section and make sure that all the easy tasks have a little gold tick next to them, and any that haven't, obviously just find out what that was was, and then using the guide go back, you may have not completed it properly. Either way, once you have completed all the easy tasks, we need to speak to the Dungeoneering tutor, who can be found just opposite the bank chest on the Daemonheim surface, and then once you talk to him, you'll say you've completed all the tasks and he'll give you the following rewards. So congratulations guys, you have now completed the easy Daemonheim task. You would have been given an experience lamp, which will give you 2,000 experience in the skill of your choice above level 23, and the Daemonheim Aura 1, and this will grant the following benefits. So 1 consequence free death per day in a dungeon, but it does not work in hard mode floors. So basically, obviously normally when you're completing Dungeoneering, if you die you receive a death penalty at the end of that dungeon. With this aura activated, it will allow you to die once and it won't count towards that floor, so basically you won't be penalised for it. However, obviously once you have died the once, the aura won't work anymore until the next day. At all times, this is what it will also give you: the ability to set a secondary role for the Ring of Kinship, giving its effect with 25% effectiveness. So obviously you can assign different roles to your Ring of Kinship and give it different abilities. So for example, you can give it Gatherer abilities, which allows you to obtain more resources, or other ones that help with your actual combat style. You'll have the ability to choose which boss is faced in a dungeon once per day, and it must be a boss that can be accessed on that floor, so that's pretty handy as well. If you're trying to obtain a certain item or defeat a certain boss, you now have the ability to choose that once per day. And you'll also get Heim Crab, cosmetic main and offhand melee weapon overrides. So overall, the rewards are pretty decent in terms of Dungeoneering. Obviously, these rewards are all based around the Dungeoneering skill, and obviously if you're someone who wants to get the Dungeoneering level up quite high, or you do Dungeoneering quite a fair bit, it is a well worth aura to have. Obviously the 1 free death per day and the ability to choose which boss you want to face once per day is pretty handy, and they will also come in handy later on when completing the medium and hard tasks, and that is obviously when the rewards get a little bit better. But yeah, I don't think you'll run into problems following my guide. However, if you do get stuck at all, please leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll help you out as best I can. If not, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, favourite, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends. Cheers for watching guys, bye bye.